Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. This is Life List, a birding podcast with Molly Brown and me, George Armistead. And today we have a guest and good friend with us, hailing from Montana, the Big Sky Country state, Josh Covill, who grew up in western Montana with Glacier National Park, right in his backyard practically. He began seriously birding at the age of 13 and started guiding field trips at the age of 15, leading the local Audubon chapter around Montana's Flathead Valley. He continues to bird Montana pretty religiously and has helped helm the Jewel Basin Hawkwatch for a number of years and conducted bird surveys with Bird Conservancy of the Rockies. His company is Glacier Birding Adventures, where he takes people all around the area there to see birds and wildlife. And he also leads trips for Hillstar Nature. He's got trips to Colombia, Costa Rica, Brazil, Ecuador, and him and I are doing a Mongolia trip together in 2027 that we're both pretty excited for. Josh, it is great to have you finally here. How are you doing today?
Hey guys, I'm doing well. Yeah, it's fantastic to finally be on the pod.
Yeah. We talk all the time. I mean, all three of us talk all the time, so it's nice that we're hitting record this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like out there in Montana right now, Josh?
Currently, it's mid-November, and we've entered the 4 months where we don't see the sun. So, my part of Montana is pretty unique in the northwest corner. A lot of our weather's influenced from the west coast, so it gets pretty gray here in the winter. But the western larch are all yellow, and we're entering the beginnings of winter.
Yeah. I used to really love this time of year at home here, but when it starts feeling like it's dusk at 3:30 p.m., I start to get a little bitter.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, well, y'all can see with the camera that the sun is setting, and I'm trying to figure out how to block it in my window right now. But I don't know. It's okay up until Christmas for me, and then the start of the year, I think, is when it gets tough. But Josh, you haven't been home for much of the past several winters, have you? This is going to be a bit of a change of pace.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the endless winter of gray is something that I always cite when I tell people that I lead trips internationally. You know, I've done my time here. I've had enough deep Montana winters, so I get to split. But yeah, this will be the first year that I will be around, at least up until February. So it's been really nice reconnecting with the changing of the seasons here and friends, family, birding hotspots, that kind of thing.
Nice. Any new Montana birds for you of late?
Ooh, there's been a few nearby that I haven't been able to chase. Prothonotary warbler showed up a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I have not added a state bird lately.
Where was that?
That was in Missoula, so a couple hours south.
Yeah, and Montana distances, that's not far, right?
No, that's like a day trip.
Nice. I know that you have been spending a lot of time at the Jewel Basin Hawkwatch this fall, which just wrapped. I don't know, how many seasons has Jewel Basin been going on? It goes back at least a couple decades now, yeah?
Yeah, so this ended our 18th survey season.
Wow. And how many days were you up there? You should describe to people what it's like to get up to that site. Josh is pretty good at taking mountain goat selfies from that site. You should tell people a little bit about it, what it's like birding up there and how much time you spent up there this year.
Yeah, so this year I only had a partial contract, so I was up there for 15 days. in the almost 2 months worth of surveys. But it's situated on a north-south mountain ridge right on the eastern edge of the Flathead Valley. The Flathead Valley is like a big kind of intermountain valley, flat, lots of agriculture, but surrounded by mountains. And on the eastern edge, the mountains are quite steep. So the Hawkwatch site where we count from is at about 7,000 feet, and it's almost a straight line down to the valley floor from where I'm sitting, down to 3,000. So there's like a 4,000-foot elevation change. And basically all to the west of me is the valley, and I could see Kalispell and Columbia Falls, the main towns in the area. And then all to the east of me is Glacier National Park and the Bob Marshall Wilderness. So it's like 180 degrees of mountaintops. And being on this almost knife ridge that runs north-south, the birds just come right overhead. So they follow the updrafts from, we prefer a southwest wind, and they kind of ride the updrafts and come right overhead. And if the flights are a little bit slow, the local mountain goats are always entertaining. There's usually a family of mountain goats that come hang out every afternoon, and dusky grouse and everything. It's I think of it as probably my favorite place in the state. I mean, it's like a sacred spot for me to just spend the fall up there.
There's a nice video of it on the Flathead Audubon site. I was watching actually just before we popped on this call, and you can tell they go way back, talk about how the geology of the place even, and the history, kind of pre Hawkwatch history by several millennia, yeah, it looks like it's a sacred site for you, but also for a number of people in that area that have spent quite a bit of time there over the years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's spectacular. It's called the Jewel Basin. It's a protected outdoor recreation area, and I think it's named pretty well. I mean, it's stunning.
I was going to say, as names go for a Hawkwatch, that's a pretty romantic one right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's one you remember.
Yeah.
And how long have you been up there?
Yeah, I mean, so my birding mentor, he founded it, and so
this is Dan Casey, right?
Yeah, Dan Casey, longtime Montana birder, originally from New Jersey. He founded it, and so I have been going up pretty much since I started seriously birding. But it wasn't until somewhere around the start of the pandemic that I was the contracted Hawkwatch counter up there. So I did that for 4 or so seasons, for probably 4 or 5 of the last 6 years.
Now, a lot of Hawkwatches, you get a lot of people that are like walk-ups. There's a lot of Hawkwatches out there where folks just kind of walk up, and before you know it, you could have 5 or 20 people. You go down to the Cape May Hawkwatch, for instance, there might be 70, 80, 100 people on some of those big weekends there. Given what's involved at the Jewel Basin Hawkwatch, I'll bet that doesn't happen very often there.
Right. You'd be surprised, but yeah, so I forgot to mention, like, from what I understand, most Hawkwatches you can drive to. If not, there's a little walking trail to the observation point. This Hawkwatch requires a nearly 3-mile hike over 1,400 feet elevation gain, and the last quarter mile is on a mountain goat trail along the kind of the knife edge of the ridge. And so we're kind of sitting out on this point right before the trail sort of cliffs out. And it's pretty involved. Only doing 15 surveys this year, I still managed to put 80 miles of hiking in.
Wow.
And it is a really popular hiking area, so we do get the occasional, like,
interloper
hiker. Yeah, so because it's not on an official trail, there aren't too many just random visitors, but sometimes there's a hiker who's up for the weekend exploring. They see the goat trail. I wonder where this goes. And they come over a little rise in the ridge, and then they just see me sitting there in a chair with an owl decoy on a pole, and they're about as confused as I am as to why they're here. And so I always explain what I'm doing, and then there is a dedicated crew of volunteers that will conduct surveys when my primaries like myself aren't available, and there'll also be a second set of eyes. So we have a dedicated crew. And sometimes when the weather's right, there'll be 10 to 15 other people up there. So yeah, it can be kind of rowdy and a lot of fun, especially when the birds come in, and especially the small raptors, when they take a swipe at the plastic owl. It's lots of oohs and ahs.
It's so fun. And then I'm picturing all the times that it's just you doing it by yourself as you're watching them come in.
Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, especially early and late in the season. But man, it's such a great place to sit up there and contemplate nature and the changing of the seasons. We were kind of talking about that. We start the season on the 25th of August, and it can be like 85 degrees and sunny up there, and swarming with ladybugs and California tortoiseshell butterflies. And then by the end of it, I'm hiking through 1.5 feet of snow and have pine grosbeaks hanging out next to me and stuff. It's like two different worlds by the beginning and ending of the season.
Wow.
That's amazing. I also haven't, I've never worked a job like that. I've never sat consistently in a place like that for full days and through a changing of the season and watched it happen either. So it's got to be a really special experience. I do it at my house, but there's all the distractions of it being at my house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really not that same level of concentration.
Right. Someplace like that where Josh is like, it's his job to be observant, right? So it's like you really take in that change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about that up there this year. I implore anyone who has the means to just sit in nature for 6 hours uninterrupted to try to do it. I know not everybody has access to places like that where they would be mostly uninterrupted or can take that much time to just sit, but it's really meditative, and I'm so incredibly lucky to not only have the opportunity to go up there through the fall, but to get paid to do it. Like you said, it's you just kind of tap into, I think a lot of other people who are stationed at migration counts feel the same. You're just kind of tapped into this like ebbing and flowing of nature and energy, and you're kind of watching as the world shifts. It's not just the raptors coming by, right? But it's some days there's flurries of butterflies moving. Some days I'm up there, I'm seeing a bunch of dragonflies go by at 7,000 feet over a mountain ridge. And the wildest observation I had this year was a huge orb weaver spider had sent out its like parasailing web and just caught the updraft and just floated on by, just going north because it was on the southwest wind. And just this, one of the biggest orb weavers I've seen in the state, honestly. And it just was going away somewhere. And there's so much wildlife moving all the time that we never have the opportunity to see. And when you sit in one place for that long, you can really just notice that there's so much happening that we're just, I don't know, don't have the right lens to see.
Yeah. I years ago got to spend an entire fall season at Kip to Peak, Cape Charles, Virginia. And I had a couple jobs there, but what you're saying is bringing me back to that season and those early September days when it was really, really hot and basically summer to the end of November when, it's dark early and the vagrant season is probably at its hottest, but bird migration is still going really strong, but the weather is it's darker and different, and it is special. I go to Cape May usually at least once or twice in autumn, and they've got such a good staff there of seasonal employees that are there for the beginning of fall. They've got the Hawkwatch, they've got the morning flight, and they have the Sea Watch. And you can almost I can read on the faces of the people that are doing those counts. You can see it, that they've been out every day and just absorbing a lot of wildlife moving and seeing visible migration, and it's hard to not be envious. It's a pretty good way to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. You just reminded me, I did get a state bird this year.
Mm.
While I was sitting up on the Hawkwatch, we had it was probably in the first hour of the morning. I had a palm warbler move by, which I don't know. It's a big bird back east, but it was a state bird for me. It's really rare, especially west of the Continental Divide, and it happened to be there's this huge movement of eastern migrants. So we had like the right storm with the right winds. Late September, it pushed a bunch of warblers in, and that's when the prothonotary warbler showed up, and a few of the other palm warblers showed up throughout the state that same day. But yeah, just sitting up there, heard a chip note that I recognized as something that wasn't supposed to be from Montana, and the warbler actually did like a kind of a mobbing flight, a full circle around the plastic owl. Wow. Showed me all of its features, and then it just took off. And I was pretty stunned.
That is awesome. I love the fleetingness too of the, like, an observation like that. Mm-hmm. If you're not right there and looking, nobody ever sees that bird.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was wild. And one of those things where it all happened so fast I didn't even reach for my camera. I was just kind of taking it in. Like, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
It's pretty cool. And you also had a moment to see it really well. That's even better.
Yeah, really.
That's so cool.
So which are the raptors that are the main players up there, Jewel Basin?
Oh, yeah. So our main bird is sharp-shinned hawk. This year, we got above average numbers. We're ended the season with over 1,852 Sharpies. And they're the primary bird. They kind of peak in late September, but they go strong all the way to the end of October. And then our other main player is golden eagle. Especially later in the season, we start to get a good flight of golden eagles. And then other than those two, Cooper's hawks and red tails are also pretty big. And then it's like this random smattering of pretty much anything that you can imagine. We've even had a couple of deer falcons over the 18 years.
I was going to ask about that. That's so
cool. Right? I mean, late in the season, lots of rough legs, all of the expected falcons, occasional ferruginous hawk and Swainson's hawks, which should be on the east side of the mountains out in the prairie, but every once in a while we get them. And, I've been buzzed by peregrine falcons and American goshawks and stuff. It's a pretty good site for diversity. Like, overall, the numbers aren't anything like some of these mega sites back east where you get 10,000 broadwings or something. But I think we make up for it in diversity and proximity. Having so many of these birds be like, you could identify the Sharpies to sex like naked eye because they're so close.
Wow.
And it's every once in a while a golden will come by really close below eye level, like below the ridge that I'm sitting on, and it feels like I can kind of just jump out and ride the eagle. I mean, it's pretty great.
The goshawks that you see, do they tend to be juveniles, adults, a mix?
I'd say it's pretty mixed. So for most of the smaller raptors, like raptors formerly known as accipiter, it's almost entirely immature birds at the beginning of the season, and then by mid-September it's half, and then anything after mid-September it's mostly adults. So with the goshawks, it's usually a mix. Occasionally we've had some local birds that are probably hatched nearby and are just cruising around. So that's always been a great opportunity to study like the immature goshawk plumage up close when they make multiple passes throughout the day.
That is my number one most wanted bird for the yard here. It's like, and this is the time, like right now, it's like now through first week or so of December. And I need to be out looking more. Last week I didn't get out much looking at all. I've done very little birding the last 2 weeks, but I think I'm going to just deliberately shirk my responsibilities and go birding this week because I'm experiencing some real withdrawal. And I think a dedicated day to seeking goshawk on the best weather day would be good. I feel like where I am here would be a reasonable place to see one. And it's funny, for the county, the city/county of Philadelphia is the same. They are one and the same. And there, I can think of only one sort of report in the last 20 years in Philadelphia that I think is probably legit. There may be others that I'm unaware of, but there are none photographed for decades and maybe ever in Philadelphia. And they move through in small numbers, but of course, as hawks go, I feel like they in particular avoid urban areas, and they just seem like a ghost in a lot of ways. And I have stopped commenting on the Facebook groups in Philadelphia whenever somebody posts a Cooper's hawk or a red-tailed hawk on, like an old TV antenna or a chimney or something downtown, and someone's like, "That's a goshawk." And I try to gently suggest that maybe it's a Cooper's hawk. Like, I know Cooper's hawks. Those are not Cooper's. This is not a Cooper's hawk. This is a goshawk. And, you get into an endless circular debate. But anyway, that one is on my mind, and it just struck me that you were in a very good part of the world for them, generally speaking.
Yeah. So you're talking about birds that would be generally moving south through the area, right? Not kind of random vagrants.
Yeah, birds that are moving south. I mean, yeah, south of here, they're even less common, but they do turn up in places, obviously.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I would never have guessed that that would even be a possibility in Philly.
Yeah. I've seen them on Christmas counts a few times on the Eastern Shore of Virginia. My favorite was, I missed it just barely, but my father was birding with a few of my friends. I forget where I was, but I rejoined them, and they had just seen a juvenile goshawk. They're always juveniles around here. It's like I've never seen an adult. They said they had a juvenile goshawk fly through carrying a tricolored heron, and the entrails.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, the entrails of the tricolored heron were like swinging back and forth as the goshawk flew by with it.
Jeez.
And I feel like that's something only a juvenile goshawk would probably attempt. And then my other favorite thing I was not there for, but was at Kiptopeke at Cape Charles, Virginia. This is probably 15 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. I heard about somebody watching a juvenile goshawk drive a juvenile great blackback gull to the ground and destroy it. And to me, like, great blackback gulls about the meanest bird alive in North America, like one of the meanest birds alive in the world. Like, they're basically, I think of them as the South Polar skuas or the brown skuas of our area. Nothing kills great blackback gulls except disease, and maybe occasionally they get shot, but nothing in nature kills great blackback gulls except for a juvenile goshawk. And there were photos that showed this thing, and I was just like flabbergasted.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible.
Yeah. Awesome, mean, skulky birds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, even up here, they're enigmas, I see a couple every year outside of the Hawkwatch, and it's always just totally random, and I could never really recreate it. They're real mysteries.
You ever found a nest there, Josh?
This summer, I thought I got close, so I actually have plans.
Did it let you know?
Yeah, I have plans to go back and kind of poke around, see, bring a hard hat and see what I could do.
Yeah, for those that may not know, getting close to goshawk nests, they will let you know sometimes. They can be famously aggressive, well, even defensive, depending on how you look at it. Defensive, territorial, and they can hit at humans. So if you're unsuspecting and near a goshawk nest, you might find out about it in rather forceful, in a rather forceful manner.
That reminds me, the only goshawk nest I've ever seen was when I was going to check on a great gray owl nest, because the owl had nested 100 yards from a goshawk, and I don't know how or why that is. If that was on purpose or what, but it was a pretty wild combination to have nesting so close. I imagine the goshawk would pretty easily drive the owls away, but there they were.
And I guess both active at the same time, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was the owl sitting on the nest and the goshawk sitting on its nest.
It's funny to think about their aggression, even in like identifying eastern ones that are passing through as an identification trait. I mean, talking about the tricolored heron and the blackback gull. But okay, so a few pass through West Virginia each fall as well. I don't know where they're going. They don't overwinter here.
Same here.
I have no idea.
Yeah, they rarely are found around winter around here.
Weird.
Much less south. Yeah, the other one I found on a Christmas bird count was on top of a female pintail. That was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
Another juvenile. Yeah. Pretty exciting.
I would imagine, knowing nothing about this and haven't done any research, I imagine they would be like spending the winter in the, West Virginia and in the mountains, further south in Appalachia, but
that's the way I was imagining it too. I do think some of these juveniles might take to kind of agricultural areas where there are woods and edge, that are even more on the coastal plain.
Sure.
But they're such skulkers. They can even if you know what you're looking at and looking for, they could fly under the radar.
Sure.
So often the ones I've seen here, they're not flying high above, they're not soaring. I have seen them do that on occasion, but very often they're like 10 feet high or lower and cruising, like before they get to a perch where they might be looking around to surprise something before darting off into heavier woodland and disappearing forever. Always it's so they seem so fleeting.
Cool birds.
Yeah. Yep. Really, really cool birds. Well, Jewel Basin sounds like a special place. Any place where you can see golden eagles, goshawks, and be kept company with mountain goats. Must be a pretty reasonable place to spend some time. What are your conversations with the mountain goats like, Josh?
Can you share those?
Yeah. Generally, I let them know that they're safe and that they have, there's no need to get too close to try to intimidate me and, maybe headbutt me off the mountain. I'm not going to bother them. So I just say, hey, I'm here. Recognize you. Do your thing. I'm just going to sit in my chair. So it's kind of those like we tolerate each other sort of things.
So are they reciprocal in this in this communication?
Yeah, I think so. The benefit I get from it is feeling like I've made mountain goat friends and bragging rights on social media. And then what they get out of it is they're salt fiends. And so, if you're sitting up on a mountain all day 15 days out of the fall, you got to go take a leak somewhere, and they enjoy the salt left behind, so they get something and I get something.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that is very generous of you. It's really, really thoughtful, and it's good to know that you're giving back. That's really good. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Hey there, Life listeners. Hope you are enjoying this episode with Josh Covill. He's a dear friend, and we always enjoy talking to him. If you're enjoying it, you should definitely think about joining Josh in Costa Rica for our new Costa Rica Pacific Specials. Take a look at the Hillstar Nature site. This is a unique itinerary going for Pacific Specials. There's a bunch of really cool stuff that you can see there. The one I'm probably most keen to see myself would be Oscillated Crake, which is a distinct possibility on this trip. Also, Josh just posted and developed a new trip to Brazil. It is to the Atlantic forest, which is one of the most distinct bioregions really in the world. There are a ton of endemics down there. Check out Brazil, the Mata Atlantica, as they call it there. That's what they call the Atlantic forest. You should go with Josh in August, coming up in 2026, to the Mata Atlantica in Brazil, or consider joining him on this Costa Rica Pacific Specials coming up in early 2026. And of course, we got Mongolia, as we're talking about on this episode as well. And hey, if you haven't joined Patreon, I hope you'll take a look. Me and Alvaro and Molly, we've got quite a bit of different content that is available through Patreon that is not available otherwise. So become a Timberdoodle, become a Boom Chachalaka, or become among the Gadflies. We would really appreciate having you as a Patreon member. Thanks for listening to Life List, and look forward to seeing you around. If it's a multi-hour walk up and 1,400 feet in elevation or whatever you said, you ever got, I guess you can see the weather coming, given your view, but have you ever gotten stuck up there in some nasty weather?
Yeah, good question. You can see the weather, right? You can see pretty far. On a clear day without smoke haze or anything, I could see almost 100 miles. There's a distant mountain range called the Cabinet Mountains that are 70 something miles away that I could see pretty clear with binoculars on a nice day. And most of the inclement weather would be coming from the west, which I would have a great view of. So I'm always checking the radar, always watching. A couple times this season and in seasons past, I've gone up there and the weather sort of turned and I had to cut a survey short due to incoming rain. This year I had to kind of run off the mountain to avoid lightning. So yeah, standing or sitting in a metal chair on a ridge is not a place you want to be in an electrical storm. But if the weather's super bad, it usually just shuts the survey down from the beginning and don't even try. You could probably, haul yourself up there and sit out, in the rain or the driving snow. But you also got to think about, are these birds really going to be flying in that,
Right. Maybe only goshawk,
Yeah, truly. Yeah. Yeah. And peregrine falcon. But the little birds, Sharpies and stuff, they're not really going to be flying in anything too nasty. And we think the birds are migrating on bad weather days, but just different routes. So sometimes when the ridge is socked in with cloud, some of the volunteers will, if they're out running errands in the valley or whatever, it's noticeable. There seems like there's a pileup of raptors in the valley, sitting on telephone poles or sometimes just circling in kettles, a couple golden eagles and a couple red tails in a kettle. So they're making these other routes, but they're not coming by the site. So in that super bad weather, it's just not even
no point
worth it to go up there.
Okay, that question about weather changing reminded me of one of my favorite stories of yours, Josh, about changing weather. And I don't know if you want to tell it on here or not, but you have a really good flash flood story from Montana.
Ooh, yeah. So,
Oh, wow. I don't know if I've heard this.
Oh, do you want to tell it?
oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
Gosh, what that was a
It's been a few
couple
years since I've
summers
heard it,
ago.
but yeah.
Um, yeah, like you said, George, I have a company that I started up here doing day trip guiding and stuff in around Glacier. And occasionally people will contact me to do like multi-day stuff, private trips throughout Montana. And this gentleman from Texas contacted me, and we did a 7-day private trip, and it went fantastic. And so the following year, he reached out. We planned another one to hit some different spots. And I had the week prior just bought a new Subaru Forester, and was breaking it in really on this trip, guiding this guy around. And we spent the morning in south central Montana, which is kind of on the edge of the Great Basin like biome, right? It's kind of silty clay soil, hard packed sagebrush, cactus, prickly pear cactus, and we're out there for sagebrush sparrow. And I just saw a bird, I just saw the sparrow, but it kind of took off. And so we were trying to get another angle, driving on this little dirt road in the middle of nowhere. And this little tiny like rain cell moved through. So we sat in the car for like 2.5 minutes tops, just waiting for this little like heavy rain, but this little micro cell to move by. And as soon as it was done raining, like the sun came out, and we kind of backtracked up the road to look for this sparrow. Parked, or rather, I just left the car on the road because there's no one out there. Kind of walked 100 yards out into the sagebrush, and we're kind of looking for this sparrow, catching glimpses of it. And then there's this kind of background noise that sounded like a train on the other side of the hill. And, I kind of looked over, thought about it for a minute. I don't know. It's probably something, whatever. And then it kind of got louder, and it sounded like kind of on a strong wind day, how the wind kind of whips a flag, and kind of the corners of the flag make little snapping sounds. So it was kind of this low kind of ambient rumble with some louder snaps. And I just was, what the heck is this sound? I've never heard anything like it. And then that's when I noticed waves lapping against the side of my car. And a flash flood had started, and it was going down the road. It wasn't going off where we were standing out in the sagebrush. It was following the road because apparently a mining company out there was resurfacing the gravel road. And so what they had done is they dug the road down like 10 inches, and then they were going to lay a whole nother road surface of gravel. But the road had ended up being like a 10-inch deep channel. And so it collected all of the rain that was rushing off of the clay soil. And so my car was in a flash flood. And so here I am with a client out in the middle of nowhere, no cell service. My car's in like 10 inches of rushing water. And so I kind of went into like emergency mode. I handed in my camera. I jumped in. I got into my car, and the car was facing up against the current, so I couldn't drive forward against the flash flood. So I put it in reverse, used the power of the flash flood to help basically ram it up out of this like 10-inch trench that I was in. But in the rush of it, I got my car out on the opposite side of the current from my client. And we spent the next 3 hours trying to figure out how to reunite. And because then the water sort of ran off the side of the road and flooded this whole section, which was, if anyone's been out in the Great Plains or like Texas in a rain, so you get kind of this like clay soil that when it gets wet, up here we call it gumbo, and it turns into this like super sticky clay muck that will stick to everything and bog your car down. So I was like trying to power through all this gumbo in the sagebrush to try to find a way across this water. And eventually the current had sort of subsided. I guess, enough of that little rain spell, the water level dropped a bit, and I could drive across, pick him up, and then we headed back to town after like 3-ish hours of figuring out how to get out of there. And God bless my client. He was so chill about the whole thing. He was like, we have plenty of food and water in the car. We can just sleep in the car if we can't get back to the hotel, and then we'll figure it out in the morning.
Wow.
But we made it out.
How was your car?
Pretty unscathed.
Wow. That's
so
lucky.
I thought, because the next day it broke down in Yellowstone National Park.
I forgot about that part.
Because as I was trying to maneuver through the flash flood and drive around the sagebrush, apparently I had driven over enough obstacles that it kind of pulled a few of the grounding cables. So I didn't rip out any like immediately important wiring, but without the current running through the car being able to ground itself, it had to ground somewhere, and it ended up going through like the brains of the automatic transmission. And so over the next day, driving and all this stuff, the little bit of extra current ended up frying the automatic transmission and left us stranded in Yellowstone. And but I have friends in the Bozeman area, and so I was able to call a few folks, and my client and I got out. He got to a hotel. He did some more birding with a friend of mine and caught his flight while I stayed back and loaded up my car on a trailer and hauled it all the way back here to the Flathead to work on it. And yeah, so that was quite the adventure. The tough first week for my car.
Hopefully you got some good sagebrush sparrow photos, maybe? I don't know.
No. Unfortunately. Yeah. We did see it briefly before the flood happened, but I think the black rosy finch the day after, kind of in that brief period of all's right with the world, post flash flood, before breakdown, had great black rosy finch content. So
I like that.
Yeah.
Some salvation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I guess you're done working in Montana until next summer? Yeah?
Yeah, totally. Unless anyone who hears that story and is like, I got to go to Montana right now.
Then you're ready. Bring your own car.
Exactly. My peak season is really May through September. That's when the bulk of the tourism happens, and that's when, all the birds are here. Winter up here can be kind of bleak. There's still good stuff, right? Like snowy owls and Bohemian waxwings, but I think most people who want to see those go towards Duluth.
Right. It must be a few gyrfalcons over the course of winter up there.
Yeah. I usually see a gyrfalcon once a year.
Mm-hmm.
This one, though, in central Montana, it's been showing up for like the last 6 years, and it's a white adult gyrfalcon. Oof. And it's been showing up in the same valley every winter. And I've gone out there a few times to see it. My best friend Andrew, and friend of the show, he's based in Bozeman, and he's gone up there a dozen times or so over the last several years looking for it. He thinks that's probably the individual bird he spent the most time trying to see.
Wow.
Yeah, so, if that shows up again this winter, I'll be making another trip out. But other than that bird, I usually see a gyrfalcon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably my best yard bird, be gyrfalcon.
Whoa.
If you have one, it's your best yard bird. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. So that was quite a while ago, but it was a similar day to today, just nasty, dark gray, like late November, early December day. And one just came wheeling through. This was probably 10 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
A couple other ghosts that are mammals that I've not seen, and I'm sure you and I have discussed, but I cannot remember if you have seen. And I think they must occur with some regularity around where you are, or at least north of there, not too far. Wolverine or lynx? You ever encountered either one?
Ooh, I've seen the lynx. Yeah, so there's healthy populations of both all around me up here. Um, but like no one ever sees them, right?
Right.
And so also this time of year is perfect. I was driving some Forest Service road out in the middle of nowhere in November and came over a little rise in the road, and there was a mama lynx with her yearling kitten just sitting in the road. And I managed to fire off a couple photos before they sort of slinked around the corner and just vanished into the woods. But yeah, phenomenal. And it's one of those things where you have this like one pretty outstanding sighting, and you know, like lightning will never strike the same place twice. But every time you're there, you always like look at that. You know, same with birds, right? You always look at that same telephone pole or whatever every time you drive by. It's the same for this. And I've seen wolverine tracks, but I've never seen a live wolverine. They are certifiably ghosts, and frustratingly, on some of these like wildlife watching of Glacier Park Facebook groups, someone posted like cell phone photos of a wolverine like 20 yards from them, right in Glacier in the middle of summer, in a spot that gets thousands of people every day. It's probably the most accessible point in the park that accesses alpine tundra. And so there's thousands of people every day. And someone just like had cell phone photos of this thing and
like,
posted,
what's this animal, I wonder?
It pretty much was that. It was like, is this like some big marmot or something? And it's like, are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
It's like, so every time I'm hiking up in the Alpine and Glacier, I'm always thinking about wolverine. I'm always scanning distant snowfields and kind of like you can anywhere where there's animals that have loud alarm calls. I'm always queuing into the marmots' alarm calls and the ground squirrels looking for something. And, you know, usually it's a golden eagle or something. But one of these years, you know, I'll turn around and see a wolverine. Actually, my mentor, Dan Casey, has a great story about that. Like probably 20 years ago, he was birding with a friend of his from out of state. They went up to Logan Pass in Glacier and kind of hiked up at dawn looking for ptarmigan and rosy finches. And as you do, you kind of stand on the boardwalk and scan looking for ptarmigan and kind of in silence. 15 minutes goes by and his friend is like, huh, so that's what a wolverine looks like. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, I just watched it for the last 5 minutes, kind of run around and it went over the edge of the mountain there and disappeared. And he's like, the way he describes it, he like, yeah, almost left him up there for bear food. I mean,
yeah, I'd have been apoplectic.
Yeah. Just, it's unbelievable.
God, that is not allowed.
That hurts to hear. We're so far removed from that story, but still.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's, gut-wrenching, right?
Jeez. A friend of mine, Brad, lives in Anchorage area. Last year sent me video of a family of wolverines that he found.
Oof.
And they were like, it looked like they were just puttering around, you know, like a female, I presume, and like 2 or 3 young, just like foraging, you know, just kind of rambling, rumbling, tumbling, stumbling, you know, just like a little motorcycle gang, you know, just kind of, you know, out carousing and looking like they were not concerned about anybody, you know, messing with them, and that they just wanted food. And
incredible.
I was just like, oh my God, what I would give to be, you know, to behold that would be amazing.
Wow. Yeah, they really strike me as an animal that just does not care. You know, like the honey badger gets that reputation, but this thing is twice the size, and just, it's only because we don't see it as often that it doesn't have that global reputation. But man, it just seems like a creature that'll just run around and not care at all.
You know what its closest relative is?
I do not.
We have all seen it. Molly, you and I saw one together. Pretty sure we were together for that
in
trip.
Africa?
No, in Colombia, Tyra.
No
Oh,
way.
no.
Wow.
Didn't know. Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I believe that they are each other's closest relative.
I mean, I could see it, they're both quite big.
And once I started, I think the reason I looked it up was that I was looking back. Molly, it was you and I together, right, at Tinamu?
Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah, we saw it in a minute.
Yeah.
When
And
we were
got
out on the trail. Yeah.
Exactly. It was like climbing around in like the big bamboo thicket there and one of those Wadua.
Yeah, and I look every single time I go now. Now,
Yes,
granted,
exactly.
the odds are decent of seeing them there, but
yeah, that's a good spot for them. Yeah. I remember that because I think the local guide, who's like a wizard, that guy is amazing. I'm forgetting his name right now. He like saw it and we like were kind of putting our heads together and we are like, let's go around. Like if we keep going the direction we're going, we'll probably just spook it away. And so we did like a backtrack, like pincher movement around the other way. And then we found it foraging and we had it right below us.
We did. That was pretty crazy. Yeah. So I know you just kind of described this. It's this like bamboo thicket, but it's maybe a half a mile loop or something. And you're kind of circumnavigating this little sort of hilltop sort of thing. And we said, maybe we'll run into it. And we did. And exactly as you said, it wasn't running away. We watched it run up and down bamboo and crossing little streams. That was really cool sighting.
Yeah. And I'm a little ashamed to say, the first one I ever saw, I didn't really know. It was in Costa Rica. I was by myself and I didn't know they existed. And it came shooting down a tree and then like kind of saw me and then like kind of did a couple really super fast loops around, like crossing the road, and then kind of went back to the base of the tree and looked at me and I was like, should I be scared? Wow. I was like, I don't even know what this was. I went back and I described it and they were like, yeah, that's a tyra. And I was like, wow, how did I like not know about this thing?
Well, at least saying it's close to a wolverine makes it sound more justified.
Yeah.
Oh man. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys know how they there was speaking of wolverines, there's been a long-term study here in Montana trying to get like population estimates and do DNA testing and all this stuff. And they developed a way to identify individuals in photographs based on their chest blaze, a little bit of like blonde and stuff in there. It's kind of like the fluke of a whale. I just learned that recently and I thought that was fascinating. So how they get photos of them is they hang a piece of meat, like bait, and then a stepladder that's like a few feet away. Yeah. And so then the wolverines have to be up on the stepladder and jump off, and then they grab the meat in their jaws and hang from their mouth on this bag of meat suspended like 6 feet up in the air. And so when they're hanging there trying to yank this thing out of the trees is when they end up like with the camera trap getting photos of the color blaze on their chest. It's pretty comical.
It's amazing. Yeah. It just shows you what they are about, those things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw one once in Nome in Alaska, but it was one of these things where I was seeing some, sort of dark brown, mid-sized mammal with kind of a golden fringe moving very rapidly over the tundra. And I was like, I stopped the car, got bins on it, and it dropped down into a gully and gone. But I really think that's what it was.
Are they present in Mongolia?
That is a good question, Josh.
Because
there are
that
some.
Would be pretty remarkable if we saw our first wolverine together in Mongolia.
You know what I do want to look for there, Josh, on our Mongolia trip is a bird that traditionally one could see in Alaska, but apparently no more in North America anywhere. This gray-headed chickadee.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. That's that whole suite of Siberian birds, but that one in particular with the mystique behind it and everything.
It's a cool emblem of it. I mean, is that the most accessible place to see them?
It might be, Molly.
I think they get into some of the Scandinavian countries. I think you could see them over there.
Ooh, yeah.
pretty restricted, right? They have a pretty particular like boreal forest requirement, but I think there's a few spots where you could see them in Siberian jay and like hawk owls and stuff in Finland.
It to me looks
Makes
like
sense.
wolverines are in northern Mongolia, but we will be largely in the south.
Mm-hmm.
But tell me, Josh, about Mongolia. What would you say is your number one or two things you want to see? Because I think it's cool that, like, I'm excited to do this trip with you because I feel like the guy and the guide that has grown up in Montana in big sky country, like, elevation, big, mountains, big skies, just huge, vast, open country. Like we're going to the Mongolia, or we're going to the Montana of, like, Asia. So I'm excited to see
Josh,
it.
Before you answer that, I have to say I've heard Josh say that for like almost as long as I've known you. So I'm really excited for you to have this coming up.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. I have such a like fascination with places that are analogs for where I grew up, and there's a few places in Montana where it's just like vast valleys with distant mountain ranges, like, and no major like human altercation as far as the eye can see. That's so it's not like a individual bird or something, but that is what I'm most excited about, is to be in a place that basically takes the themes of Montana and just dials it way up, and just to be in a place with no fences, right, for thousands of miles, and to really dig into the like Asian analog of Montana. And what I'm really excited about is to have the feeling of familiarity, like especially in the first couple of days, the places that we go looking for the black-billed capercaillie, just outside the capital. That is what it looks like outside here, like kind of this mixed conifer larch forest on some hills and mountains with some grassy valleys, and it's just so to feel at home, but then be surrounded by wildlife that is completely different is kind of the thing I'm most looking forward to, and to just share that experience with everybody. And it's like you said, Molly, it's a place I've been dreaming about since I've learned what it is, and I'm like shaking with excitement. The analogs. So maybe to be more specific, there's a few birds that are analogs of my favorite Montana birds. So there's a couple from the mountains that I think are like really key species. Here I have like dusky grouse and gray-crowned rosy finch. So the chance to see black-billed capercaillie and Asian rosy finch, these like perfect analogs of the birds that I have here. And then in the prairies, mountain plover and the chestnut collared and thick-billed longspurs, and some of the like wetland breeding shorebirds are my all-time favorite birds out here. And so to be able to be in this like vast steppe looking for Oriental plover and Mongolian lark and these things that are like, and the like perfect analogs to my birds, like my shortgrass prairie specialties. I'm just, oh man, getting jittery just thinking about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of larks in the world, but Mongolian lark has got to be one of the best looking out there. I'd love to see black lark someday.
I was
as
just
well.
thinking black lark feels like a lark bunting analog, and that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. And black-billed capercaillie, folks may or may not be familiar with what a capercaillie is, but it's the biggest. I'm not sure black-billed might be a little smaller than capercaillie elsewhere, but it's a giant grouse. like a huge, huge grouse. And oriental plover is surely, there are a lot of wonderful, beautiful plovers in the world. Oriental is definitely top tier, and seeing it on the breeding grounds and breeding plumage will be very, very special when and if that happens. I think, yeah, I look forward to standing next to you, seeing you see those things. And I also, for me, like Mongolian ground jay, just like as far as weird birds go, you know, I can't really imagine what that thing looks like moving around. You know, I want to see a Mongolian ground jay just being a ground jay. I want to see that. It may sound weird, but I am looking like swan goose. It's something I actually really would love to see, like wild swan goose. And an azure tit just looks like about as charming, cute, and beautiful. You know, basically picturing a frosty blue looking chickadee. That should be a very cool.
I got to second that. And Siberian tit, i.e. gray-headed chickadee, because I really like my chickadees here, and anyone who's talked to me about Montana knows that I'm not shy about bragging that I get 4 chickadee species in one place. And
yes,
so
I've heard this from you and several folks on your trip about how much they enjoyed it. So yep.
So to see some cool like emblematic parrots in Mongolia is really exciting.
Yep. It's going to be great, man. Folks should check it out. And we are running up on the hour. I think we all got a split.
We are. You know, it's so funny. I really thought that when you came on, Josh, it would be a whole neotropic Caribbean, South American kind of episode. So we're going to have to do that next time because that's where you spend most of your time leading tours. So we have a lot more to cover.
We didn't even talk about your second home in Costa Rica. So, so folks should definitely check out Josh's trips with Hillstar Nature and also check out Glacier Birding Adventures. You will have a good time birding with Josh. So thanks for being here, Josh. Really great to have you on the pod.
Yeah, this was fantastic. Really appreciate having me on.
Yeah, we will do it again sometime. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back again soon with another episode of Life List, a birding podcast. Take care, guys.
See ya.
Yeah.